And now we move on to Aritra Ghosh's paper. Abhijit Shri Kumar, Aritra Ghosh Dastidar. Aritra Ghosh Dastidar's paper is Saiva Siddhanta Agamas, exploring the esoteric tantric traditions of Shaivism. Please keep watching the presentation also there, it is running. Though it is very difficult to move your eyes from the speaker to...
Namaskaram everyone. So it's really an honor for me to get into this conference organized by Indica on Tantra and Tantric traditions. Pranam to the dais, mostly sir. So maybe it's quite difficult to move our eyes from this podium to that thing, but today we will be moving from the ancient tradition to the modern science. So let's begin with the modern science. Just few hours back, it was just concluded that the Chandrayaan-3 mission, where it landed on the moon, so the spot has been named as the Shiva Shakti Sthan. So it's really a thing for applaud, right? So moving on to the time travel thing, so we will be moving on to the tradition of Saiva Siddhanta. So let's begin with this. So we have with us the poster page of this thing, the Saiva Siddhanta Agamas, exploring the esoteric traditions of Shaivism. So to begin with, let's move on to the next slide. Okay. Okay. This is the actual one? Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, for sure. So we can first begin with, in the first page we can see here, as we all can see, in the middle we can see the ancient acharyas of Bengal, whom I have to thank to begin with. No sir, it's not. Let's see. Now we all know that Tantra is a system, and the word system has no Indian equivalent for it, right? So if we think of the word system, can we think of any such Hindi or Bengali or Odia word for this thing? So Tantra is a system. So we all know this Tantra. This can begin with the Kashmir Shaivism, and also we know that as we all move from the Kashmir Shaivism to the Shakta Parampara, the most specific portion where I want to throw light on is the Saiva Siddhanta part. Saiva Siddhanta Agamas form an essential and intricate part of the broader Saiva Siddhanta philosophy, a major school of thought within Shaivism. These ancient scriptures hold profound significance for practitioners and scholars alike, encompassing a diverse range of spiritual, metaphysical, and ritualistic teachings. My research paper aims to provide a comprehensive exploration of the Saiva Siddhanta Agamas, shedding light on their origin, types, dissemination, content, and impact on the Saiva Siddhanta tradition. The study employs a multidisciplinary approach, drawing upon historical, theological, and textual analysis. Through meticulous examination of primary sources such as the Tirumurai, Meykanda text, Agamic ritualistic text, and the Shilpa texts, the research paper delves into the rich tapestry of the Saiva Siddhanta Agamas. It investigates the ancient Saiva Siddhanta tradition which was prevalent in northern India and later which migrated to the Dravidian Pradesh. It also focuses on tracing the independent origin and traditions of Saiva Siddhanta, Siddharths, Nayamars in the ancient Tamil-speaking region of South India and explores their transmission, preservation, and influence across different time periods. The content of the Agamas is thoroughly explored, highlighting their key philosophical concepts, theological doctrines, and liturgical practices. The paper examines important topics like the nature of Parameshwara, Shiva, the relationship between the individual soul, which we call as the Atman, and the Supreme Self, Paramatman, the path, the liberation to moksha, and the intricate symbolism and rituals associated with temple worship. Special attention is also given to the core principles of Saiva Siddhanta. So let's begin with the origin of the Saiva Siddhanta traditions. So to begin with, we got to know about the Agamas, their authenticity, whereon we have came through the etymology of the word Agama by dividing the word in Agama, which represents Agam. So the word Agam, as we all know, many are from our local places, I think so. So in Odia, Ohomia and Bengali, we call Agam Janiye Dewa. So it means that we have been foretold. So to begin with the word Agam, to come, that is to come, because the texts come from the 5 mouths of Shiva. And we all know Ga represents Gam. And I think the mode is now very much lucrative because initially at that point of time, when people don't have any such microphones and they are just testing me whether I can propagate this knowledge without using the tantra or the system of the modern technological aspects. So moving on to the next slide, as we have this dissemination lineage right now being told by our previous speaker, the ancient agamic and tantric cults involve the agamas as the basis, and also the Saiva Siddhanta Agamas receive the knowledge from the phases, the 5 phases of Shiva, which is further divided into 5 subtle phases. Hence, numerous agamas, tantras, etc. have emerged from these 25 phases of Shiva. From these subtle 5 heads, under each main head, the folk, Vedic, spiritual, transcendental, and mantra-margic categories of Shaiva Shastra have been revealed. So, 25 different classes of Saiva Siddhanta have their origin from Sadasiva. Now, this is being told from Kamikagam, canto number 1. I have with me with all the exact portions of the text with my paper. It is not there in the PPT. So if we move on to the classification of the Shaiva Tantras, so where does this thing, the Saiva Siddhanta thing comes to? The 28 Siddhanta Agamas are divided into 2 parts. At the Bheda, Shiva, Avastha, the 10 Agamas were emerged and propagated to 10 different Shiva, named Prana Shiva, Shu Shiva, etc. So at the Abheda Bheda stage, the Rudra Avastha, the 18 Agamas were emerged and propagated to 18 different Rudra, named Ganas. That's why they are called Rudra Gamas or Rudra Bheda Gamas. The origin of Siddhanta Saiva Tantras have been from the Urdhamna, the Ishana Stotra. We just now have received the knowledge of the order of creation, which is the Srishti Kram, and the order of dissolution, which is the Laya Kram. I am just skipping on to the parts for the time constraints and just directly moving on to the different traditions where we can have the Maikanda Kailash tradition, which was basically from Nandinatha and Maikanda tradition. And as we all know, the Durvasa Amaranda lineage, the Amarkanda Sampradayam was another branch of North Indian Saiva Siddhanta, as per some evidences, texts and also some scholars with this lineage, was actually originated from Rishi Durvasa. Amaradaka, name of the Amaradaka mutt, was actually took from the name of Amaradaka Nath, who was one of the 3 disciples of Rishi Durvasa. In the next slide, we have with us the Nandinath tradition. This tradition is one of the most important ancient Shaiva cults of the Saiva Siddhanta thing. The philosophy of this tradition is Shaiva monism. 28 Siddhanta Agamas and other Siddhanta Upagamas are the main foundational texts for this tradition. Srikanta Shiva was the main originator, and Maharshi Nandinatha was the Adi propagator of this ancient tradition. We have with the next tradition, the Skanda tradition, which is based according to the Tamil tradition. Lord Shiva taught the Siddhanta to his main disciple deities, Skanda and Nandi. There were the main acharyas of the Saiva school of Shaivism, Siddhanta school of Shaivism. They have established 2 Guru Parampara systems, known respectively as the Skanda Parampara and the Nandi Parampara. Moving on to the next slide, we have with us the Tantric practices about which this conference is on. So, in the Tantric practices of this classical Shaiva Siddhanta, which begins with Shiva, it ended at the root level of this modern society. And I have shown the structure by putting some pictures of Shiva Parvati, the lineage, and the modern time of the Saiva Siddhanta. Moving on to directly to the Tantric practices. So, as we all know, the Tantric practices within Shaiva Siddhanta encompasses a wide range of rituals, meditation, and yogic techniques, just like other traditions of Tantra. These practices are designed to purify the individual's body, mind, and consciousness, leading to the direct experience of the divine. The ritualistic worship involves the use of mantras, yantras, and for viewers who are of not Indian origin, yantras are the sacred geometric symbols, and mudras, which are the essential hand gestures. These are required to channel and amplify spiritual energies. So, the exact details of the Tantric practices are the Panchashuddhi, as we all can see here. The Panchashuddhi in Shaiva Mukta ritual is very important to perform, because Panchashuddhi during Shivarchan, as per Shaiva Mukta instructions, Panchashuddhi refers to the 5 types of purification, that is of Atma Shuddhi, Sthana Shuddhi, Dravya Shuddhi, Linga Shuddhi, and Mantra Shuddhi as well. Here we can see the Atma Shuddhi or the self-purification, which involves, to begin with, first of all, this self-purification has to be done. Bathing, ablution, Kad Shuddhi, Bhashman, Archaman, Karyanas, Pranayama, Bhuta Shuddhi, many things are there. I have mentioned all the vidhis as well, from 1 to 4, where we can see the getting up at Brahma Muhurta and meditate on Shiva. Ablution, bathing, brushing teeth, etc. are all there, which ends up in bathing and marchan. To the next slide, we have with us this Atma, the self-purification, and later on we have with us this Sthana Shuddhi. The Sthana Shuddhi is very important, because as we all know, in this Hindu fold, in this Sanatani fold, we require a consecration of the Sthana, that is to dispel the area by chanting after completing the proksha with pure fragrant water in the main mantra Namah Shivaya. The place should be protected by pronouncing Avagunthan. I am showing the mudra here, and this is the exact mudra. Then flowers, sandalwood, incense lamp, that could be done on that place also. To the next page, we have with us the Dravya Shuddhi. So in this Dravya Shuddhi, all items used in the puja, offering vessels, drinking vessels, pots should be washed by Astra Mantra. And all these are from different references and shastras only. Then by sprinkling water with the heart mantra, that is the Hridaya mantra, prokshana and nirikshana should be done. Then we have to cover it with Kavacha mantra. As we all know, Kavach is the shield, and Panchamrit, incense, lamp, scent, flowers, Tatpurusha, of this should be done by mantra. Sandalwood, flowers, offerings, clothes, jewels are also prescribed here, just like other tantric practices of different traditions. On the Guru's command, Nyas should be done with the right hand. That is mentioned in the Dipta Agama, just the information. Then the purpose of those products should be the Shurabhi Mudra, Dhenu Mudra and Shula Mudra. If one wants, they can show the Dhenu Mudra or the Shurabhi Mudra for all the products as per instruction given in the Shiv Mahapurana. This rule is called Amritikaran. Next, I have posted the images here. As we all can see the linga here, because I know that with the word linga there is a very large negative connotation, so I have given the images as well. So in the linga shuddhi, we have with the chanting of Hridaya mantra by ringing the bell. Next we have to sprinkle some amount of water on the Shiva linga's head. Then the Nirmalya, invoking the flowers by reciting the Pancha Brahma mantra. Then we have to again take some flowers and different mudras has to be done, I have mentioned there. And we have to do this by reciting the Sadyojjata mantra. Some Nirmalya should be dedicated to Chandeshwar as well. On the 6th point we can see that the linga portion of the Shiv linga should be purified by reciting the Shivastra mantra. The Shivastra mantra is uttered by the Archan is Om Shivananda Phat. See, this is the magic, right? So, next we have with us the Sthal part of the Shivlinga, which should be purified by the Vidyangastra mantra. Later on, other things can be done, which includes the Nirmalya or the flower, which should be offered here by Khurikastra mantra. Shaiva Gamokta Khurikastra mantra is also there, but the seeds are confidential. So, on the later part, we have with us the Mantra Shuddhi. The Mantra Shuddhi is especially important in chanting Shiva Panchashakada. Most of the Mantra Shuddhi is done by performing Matrikanyas, including Shiva mantra and other things. Then for all the mantras used in the puja, Om and at the end Nama should be added to make the mantra Shuddha. Purify, we have to purify the mantra. This is only the Mantra Shuddhi. Moving on to the next slide, we have with us the Kundalinis and the Chakras, though this is not that much prevalent in the Saiva Siddhanta tradition, but I have included this because in some texts we find such references, but those are mainly of the Guru Parampara lineage and not of the Shastra thing. And the most important and the beautiful part of this thing is the sacred geometry, or which we all can see as the yantras. So, moving on to the yantra part, I have mentioned here a brief introduction of the yantras. So, this is the diagram of the Shiva yantra or the Sada Shiva yantra, which was mentioned in a number of Siddhanta Shaiva Tantra like Kamikagama, Kadanagama, Diptagama, etc. Moreover, Aghoda Shivacharya is in Panchavadana Stav, which revolves itself around Sadasiva. This diagram is given in Panchavadana Stav, published in French Institute. According to some other agamas, 18 Avadana concept is also prevalent, but the more prevalent thing is the 5 Avadana concept, which is revolving around Sadasiva. The name of the 5 Avadanas are, so we can look into this picture and we can understand that the middle one, the innermost one is the Garbha Varana. Next is the Vidveshwara Avarana. On the outer portion it is the Ganesha Avarana, Ganesheshwara Avarana. Then it's the Dikpala Avarana. And the last one is the Astra Avarana from the inner to the outer direction. We all can know about the different petals and all the exact positions of different things like the Sadyojata, Vamdeva, Aghoda, Tatpurusha in the Pancha Brahma portion of the Garbhadana. Many different structures are given there. I am not going into the detailed portion. So I have listed here as a tabular form. Moving on to the next slide, we have with us the different form of yantras, which is generally seen in different types of traditions. These are the 6 advas. As we all know, that advas are basically included in the 6 portions, such as the mentioned in this thing. The varna, mantra and the pada together are called the kaladhava and different things. And in the conclusion, we all have learnt right now 3 things. That is unveiling Saiva Siddhanta, which is a tantric spiritual path, though it is not prevalent in today's time. And apart from this, we have learned that the Shaiva Tantra system, the Saiva Siddhanta Agamas, is really enriching one, and I have mentioned all the details there. If we wish, we can move on to that thing also. And lastly, the Saiva Siddhanta is actually a very spiritually rich heritage which can enrich the Tantra and the Tantric traditions of the whole Indian subcontinent. Namaskar.
Thank you, Aritra. Any questions or comments? Swastik. So Swastik is congratulating him for a very good paper. Very good presentation, and that coming from a similar young man. All the young people are clapping for each other. Very good, excellent, Aritra. That was really very well prepared, well substantiated presentation.